Hi, this is Joe Melky with Snap Fabrications representing Certiflat Weldtables. In a previous video we showed the assembly of a 2 foot by 4 foot fab block. In this video we're going to go over the corresponding 2 foot by 4 foot fab rack. The fab rack is the leg kit available for the Certiflat fab block. We also have the available dual locking caster kit. Now for the 2 foot by 4 foot table, the components are pretty basic. Depending on the size table you have, you may have more components than what is seen in this kit here. Obviously we're going to have 4 legs. This kit has 2 long cross members, 2 short cross members. We have the dual locking caster kit, the associated hardware, and mounting plates. The kit will come with a bill of materials. Once you've confirmed that all the components are there, we can start assembly. Now to start the assembly of the fab rack, we're actually going to use the fab block itself for the assembly process. Seeing as how the fab block is a fixture table, no better way for us to start fixturing the leg kit together than using the table itself. Now what first we're going to do is locate this mounting plate here, which is the plate that actually gets bolted to the fab block that the 4 legs will get installed into. And they go in all 4 corners just like this. Now the legs have a end that has been laser cut that has tabs in every corner. Now those actually intersect this plate, and you'll see how these tabs protrude past the plate a little bit. Those actually will go into 4 of the fixturing holes in the bottom of this table. So we'll use that to get everything lined up. And we'll also want to make sure that these slots that our cross members drop into are positioned in a way that they're facing the interior of the table. So I'll get the other 2 legs up here and installed real quick. Now with the 4 legs in position, the next thing I'll do is I will get the cross members, and those cross members, like everything with this kit, uses a tab and slot construction. There are tabs on both ends of this cross member that go into corresponding slots in these legs. They go in the holes, and in this situation they're going to drop down just like so. Got the 2 short ones in, I'll get the 2 long ones in next. Now that we've got all of these components basically dry fit, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop some hardware into these holes to get these plates loosely fit to the table, so that I know when everything is welded up, our hardware will drop through these mounting holes just fine. And I'll also put bar clamps on across the length of these support beams and just tighten them all up. The way everything is laser cut, once we put some pressure to draw these parts together, they pretty much square themselves up. But I'll put in some hardware and bar clamps and be right back. Now the mounting flanges are bolted hand tight to the table. The legs and the cross members are lightly clamped together with these bar clamps. There's no need to over tighten bar clamps or whatever clamping mechanism you might be using. Just applying light pressure, the way these parts are cut, should square everything up right away. We're just going to use a square and verify that anything that should be square is in fact square. If you find a corner that's not quite square, just a light love tap with a mallet should remedy anything that might not be square. With that being said, if by chance something's hanging up and won't quite square right, you might just want to check and make sure that there's not some slag or a burr from the cutting process, and if there is, obviously file it off to remove it and reassemble. At this stage, I'm satisfied that the leg kit is square, so I'm going to start laying in some tack welds on all the joints of the legs and the mounting flanges to the legs. Once everything is fully tacked together, I'll double check to make sure everything is square. I'll remove my clamps and do my finish welds, and after that we'll get to the final step of this assembly. Now our leg kit's fully welded. Last component is going to be the caster set, and there are these mounting plates for the casters to get bolted to. Just like everything else, this is tab and slot construction. There are tabs at the end of the legs that correspond with the slots in these plates, which go in place just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this leg kit off this table, get it down on the floor, and weld these plates into place. Now with our leg kit on the floor, we can get a better look at the tabs that are located in the bottom of the table leg here, and those how they correspond with the slots in the caster mounting plate. Now the mounting plate can be mounted either way, it doesn't make any difference. I'm going to choose to mount it this way, so the long dimension of our mounting plate is corresponding with the long dimension of the table, but that's your call. It can be done either way. Now with the caster mounting plates in place, the attachment of our casters is really pretty straightforward. There are these carriage bolts included, and you'll want to drop those carriage bolts in the same way that I've done just here, and that is because if you try to install the carriage bolts this way, the bolt itself, the washer, and the nut will be in the way of the rotation of the caster. So the button head of the carriage bolt needs to be just like that. Now I'll get all 4 of these casters installed, get this leg kit turned right side up, get the table installed on top, and we will be done. Our leg kit is completed. The fab block is bolted to the leg kit. So for all intents and purposes, this fab block is complete and ready to be put to use for fixturing and for welding. But I'd like to say one thing about final finishing of your table, especially if you're using a MIG welder. When you're welding in the tab slots, the possibility for you to have some weld buildup, MIG splatter, things of that nature, that's something you're obviously going to want to clean up before you're using this as a fixturing surface, because you want the whole surface smooth. One thing people are probably prone to do is grab a grinder or a whiz wheel like this with a sanding disc and take those welds down. It'll work, and really it comes down to how well you use the tool to how good of a finish you'll have. Myself personally, I like to use a large flat file. That way when your file is flat on the table and you're going back and forth over a high spot on a weld, you're going to still maintain the integrity of the flat surface, where obviously using a grinder or a sanding disc, you could get down below the surface, create a divot, and just not have as smooth of a surface. With that being said, whichever way you choose to do it, you can obviously come in with a DA or a hand sanding block and do a final finish on the top of your table. But for the most part, that's it. This table is complete, ready to be put to use. I hope this video was informative and helped you with the assembly of your table. If watching this video has inspired you to get a weld table, you can reach us at www.weldtables.com. Please give us any feedback, ask any questions. We're more than happy to help. Again, thank you for watching. Now get out there, go weld something.